paranormal cops. Everybody, it's Moriah, the medium. Here we go.
How's everybody doing? Well, I am really happy to be here. I'm really nervous, but it's really good. All right, so for those of you who haven't seen me before or don't know what I do, I will explain it, but if you've heard it before, you're just going to have to sit through it again. Well, first of all, I am a medium, so I'm not a psychic, so I talk to people, pets, plants, trees, anything that's ever had life. And sometimes, you know, when I share that with people, they do have a tendency to laugh, but you would not believe how many times people ask me for lotto numbers, want to know what the stock market's going to do or where their wallet is, and if I knew that, I'd use it and I'd be in Aruba right now. So I don't know that. But, you know, I wrote a book that's out that teaches people how to do exactly what it is that I do, and that's being revised. And mind you, it sells for $14.95. So if you see it online for $300, don't buy it. Just a suggestion. But I really believe that this is something that every single person here in this room has the ability to do. It is not a gift, and you're not special or unique because you can do this. It is just normal. So when I worked on A&E's Paranormal Cops, I used to say to the guys all the time, the police officers I worked with, that I don't believe in anything paranormal, because to me, it all makes perfect sense. So I'm kind of at the opposite end of the spectrum there. But when I see people that have died, nobody really has a body anymore, but when I do a reading, if I said, oh, there's a beautiful vibration of white light, you'd probably be thinking, who on earth is that? So sometimes they come forward, and when they present themselves, you know, they will take the form in the way that they looked at their most healthy. And sometimes they might give me their first name, last name, nickname, sound of their name. Sometimes they don't. But when they use symbols, it can always be a bit comical. I did a reading one time, and a young girl had died, and she had a giant bear above her head. So of course I'm thinking the worst. And I finally said, does anybody know why I'm seeing this? And the lady laughed and said, sure, her last name was Bear. So if they can't say it, they might show it. And not only do you get your own relatives, but you can get in-laws, so you never get rid of those people. You can get people you grew up with, neighbors. Where's my mother-in-law? I hear her somewhere. Maybe she's not here tonight. Tomorrow night, okay. But you can get people you grew up with, neighbors, friends, and so it's always interesting who comes forward. Now, you really might want to talk to your Aunt Bertha first, but you get Uncle George and Great Uncle Herbert and your old neighbor. And so sometimes it's kind of funny who comes forward first. It may not be who you're anticipating or who you want to talk to first. So that does happen. But other than that, everything is really straightforward. Everyone's life, to me, life choices anyway, look like a bowl of spaghetti, and whatever strand you take is whatever path you pick. So nothing's written in stone, and you can change anything you don't like at any time. Now, I always encourage people to learn this because, unfortunately, in this line of work, for as many nice people as there are in this business, there's an equal number of opportunists out there as well. So it's always best to trust your gut. So, anyway, with that said, I will start what I'm supposed to do, and that is connect with the other side. So, this afternoon, Nikki, where's Nikki? Oh, there's Nikki right in front of me. Sometimes she gets a chuckle out of the shows, because sometimes before I get here, I get people bothering me that want to come over and talk, and it's not time yet, and I politely tell them, could you just wait, just hang on a minute. But today, when we were talking, there was a gentleman, and he was back in the room with Chris and myself. Again, I would say he probably is in his 50s, and I would bet he's probably 5'9", 5'10", somewhere in that height range. But he's a little bit thinner. He kind of has brown hair, where it's a little bit kind of rangy on the top, or a little bit more wild. But he does have a mustache, and I think he wants to speak to his wife, but I think he must have had something that centered in his whole body, and I think he had difficulty crossing over, so it seems like he was weaving in and out of consciousness for a while, but I think for some reason, he's kind of funny because he thinks he talks to her all the time, but she still doesn't listen and nothing's ever changed. So I know he's been trying to get messages to her, and I think she must be very heavy-hearted or very depressed about this, but I don't think he's been gone terribly long. But he has kind of a dry sense of humor, and I think he feels he let her rule the roost, or he thinks he let her believe she ran things, but he thinks he did. So he's got kind of a funny sense of humor, but I think he's looking for his wife. And I would have to guess he probably crossed over from cancer or something that went throughout his body, but I would say he was only maybe in his 50s, so I don't know if that goes to somebody here, and if it does, you're welcome to come up on stage. But he's pretty insistent. He's tired of waiting. So he's got kind of a funny sense of humor, but I think he wants to talk to his wife, and I think he has messages for his other children too. So, does he belong to anybody up here yet? Oh, you want to come on up? Come on up. She said she's afraid she's going to cry. I said, it's okay, cry. She said, I will. Well, I don't know why he's giving you such a hard time, but he doesn't think you're a very good listener. And I think he feels that 3 days after he first died, he tried coming to you in dream state. And every morning when you get up and say that you can't do this one more day, or that you want to go just to sleep and wake up and be with him, he said he's ready to hit himself in the forehead. So he understands that you feel like you're lost. He knows that you feel like you've lost your best friend. And he feels like you two are like Mutt and Jeff. And I think that he feels, although in the relationship you had all the good attributes, he feels like you made him a better person by loving him and putting up with him for as long as you did. And he doesn't want to hear any more business, that he doesn't have anything to say to you, or that he doesn't want you to think that he wouldn't come and visit you. He wants you to know that whether you want him to or not, he will. And he feels like you need to eat better. And if you want to have a beer, that's okay too. And there's something funny to him about not letting a beer refrigerator or something with beer go empty or dry, because he still may stop by. And he knows that your heart is broken, and he understands that, but he's doing his best day to day to let you know he hasn't left you and he won't leave you, but he doesn't want you to feel like half of yourself is missing. He doesn't want you to be depressed, and he feels like you think you have to take care of your children's emotions, your friends' emotions, and so you're trying to hold it together for everyone else, but you can't hold it together for yourself. And so, because you always say he's not listening or he's not around, he thought he'd get in line first so you could finally be quiet about it. And he's grinning, just this terrible grin. And I don't know, I really hate to say this in front of all of you, but for some reason, I don't know what the joke is, but he's got a white t-shirt on and a pair of like boxer shorts, and that's what he's standing in with us right now. And he wants you to know that this is what he has on. You gotta hold it up.
We used to always wear the Tigger boxer shorts when we would watch the kids, and when we first got the grandkids, you know, you gotta show the kids the Tigger boxer shorts.
Yeah, well, he's still continuing it. He wants to tell you that this is his Sunday best. And he said you can't be mad at him anymore. Because now he has power, see, he said. Yeah, he says you may think you still run the house, but he's just going to let you continue thinking that for however long you want, because real men wear Tigger boxer shorts, and that's how they show authority. Do you want to ask anything, or?
He just had a lot. He had a long disease of cancer, and it started actually when he was 23, and it's a rare form of melanoma that kept coming back throughout our time together, you know, married life, and so this last one was obviously the one that took him, but it was in a series of. I had a sister-in-law that got killed, who was a great, friend, obviously, and a great caretaker to help us. And that was about 7 months, I think, before my husband died. And then he passed away, and I had an uncle and a cousin pass away and then my dad passed away about. I think it was about 9 months after that.
So you've just had nothing but absolute back-to-back grief.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he started bugging me at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Because he was determined that he was going to make your day or make you feel better, to know that he's got everyone with him, even though they don't want to be with him, he's still got everyone.
Yeah. Well, we used to have quite a few gatherings out in my house, out in our house. And
I would suppose you probably still do. Your house looks like Grand Central Station, so I like to call the people that died the living impaired. It just sounds better. So you've got quite a few of them there.
Yeah, they're all there. There was quite a few that passed away within that 9 months' time. Everyone was pretty close, that's for sure.
So he just wants you to know that from this day forward, you have to promise him that you're going to do your best to heal, but you're not going to feel like he's abandoned you, or he doesn't want to talk to you, or he's not around. He's not going to put up with that anymore. He can tell you that right now.
Yeah, I really don't dream about him.
Yeah, you said you never did. You never did. He looked at me and he's like,
yeah.
So I think he wants everybody out here to feel sorry for him right now.
Yeah,
because he's showing himself like this is quite a bit to be proud of.
Yeah, he was a great guy.
He said he still is. And you know, like how you like twirl like a mustache, like Snidely Whiplash? There's something funny where he's doing that to you. So he thinks that's pretty clever.
Mustache,
Yeah, he still does.
Does he?
Yeah. So he wants you to know that he loves you with all his heart, and he hasn't left you, and now that he's proved to you that he's here, you can quit bitching.
Exactly. He would always, right before he would go out the door, you know how you remember something and you think, oh, wait, I have to tell you, and I'd always, say to him, Bobby, like that, and he'd come back and he'd go, what? Why can't you tell me when I'm standing here waiting until I get out to the car, but just things like that. So he said, yeah, we were together a long time, so.
And you still probably will be, so.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Thank you.
And you know what I'm going to make you do? Where's our bucket of luck? I'm going to pretend you're Vanna White. But I don't know how this opens. You pick up somebody's random name out of there. Okay, thank you. I think, what does that say? Is it, you help me there. Tammy Crusterman? Crusterman? You just won a new car. Do we have a Tammy? Yes, that's what I said. Come on up.
The other one's on the table. What's the plan?
I better go back in my zone.
Yeah.
It's the
I can
plant.
use the other one.
So have a seat. Yeah, is that your name?
Yes.
It says that you will give me $5,000. All right. I'm back in the Oprah chair.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Well, my goodness. There are probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people coming forward. Shit. My daughter just said that in the back seat of the car today. She's 2. Now I know where she learned it from. But there is a pretty insistent lady that would like to talk first, and I really don't think she's going to let anybody else get a word in edgewise. And she loves you like a mother loves a child. It's a pretty intense amount of love. And she has a little more of a heart-shaped face where her cheeks are a little bit more rounded, but she's got a little bit higher forehead. Her chin's a little bit more pointed, and she's a little bit more narrow, like in her shoulder area, but I would say that she's maybe 5'3", 5'4". I don't think she's particularly tall. But I think that she must have been maybe in her 70s, maybe in her 80s when she crossed. And I'm not saying like she's like Aunt B or anything, but she kind of is a little bit. And she's a little bit smothery. And I think that, yes, I will, yes. Well, before she talks about anything else, she wants to make sure you understand how important faith in a higher power is. And sometimes that you can't just always depend on yourself to get you through hard times. And she knows that you're stubborn, and she knows that you're determined, and she knows nobody can tell you anything. Yeah, I would say. But she wants to make sure that you still have like religious faith in your heart, and that you still count on saying your prayers, and that you have that sense of community around you. And she's a little worried that sometimes she thinks you get too nervous about things and get too much anxiety, and she worries that you put the cart before the horse, and then you end up making mistakes because you've got yourself in too big of a bother. So she wants you to know that it's okay to take your time, but you have to finally figure out what makes your heart happy and do it. And if you want to change careers, or if you want to change jobs and do something different, well, there's no time better than the now, and you can still do this when you're 95 years old too, but it'll be a lot more difficult. So she wants to make sure that you start listening to yourself, and you have to know that you're very creative, and she wants you to know that your best ability is to make other people feel better about themselves. And she thinks you always build up other people's confidence and pat them on the back and let them know that they can get through anything, but you just don't listen to your own advice. So she wants you to know that she can hear you just fine, and that she very much loves all of you. And there's a boy who I think is a man here on earth that she also loves very much. And she doesn't think he believes in any of this, and he said good luck to you about going, or something about good luck going to the show with those crazy people. But she said that that's not very nice.
You know who we're talking about.
She said that's not very nice because I watch him too, and I don't think that's very polite. So if you want to explain that, you can. Is that someone here? And you gotta hold it up.
My boyfriend doesn't believe in this at all. I was watching the Long Island Medium last night, and he's like, "This is just a show," you know. And I'm like, "Shut up! I believe in it. Don't talk to me about it." And I did say, you know, he don't believe in it at all. And I told him to shut. I did, well, not nice words. Shut.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
well, maybe that's why she wants you to go to church. So she wants you when you get home to make sure you tell him she thinks he has bad manners. So, and she just wants to make certain you know that she's absolutely here and that she's with you whenever you need her love, whenever you need her guidance, and she's really worried like you pick at yourself all day long. She thinks like you're a chicken pecking corn. So she wishes you'd stop. And she wants you to know she loves you, and she really means it. And so I would suppose if you ever want to hear her, or you ever want to talk to her, all you have to do is do it out loud. And spirits can come to us in different ways. Sometimes they can come through electricity, sometimes they come as colors. But she's insistent she'll send you feathers. So she wants you to know.
Feathers?
Feathers. That'll be her sign from her to you that she's around. So if you get one at your feet or you find one somewhere you shouldn't, that's a sign from her. So if you find one like in the silverware drawer or, you know, somewhere like inside of, I don't know, a cup, that's from her. So she wants you to know she loves you. So there you go, kind of nifty, huh?
Thank you, yeah.
You're welcome, and tell your boyfriend I guess you guys would be going to church now.
Thank you.
Good grief, don't they say some humdinger things, right? And there's always that old adage, don't shoot the messenger. So sometimes what happens when you start being open to this concept is that sometimes, I think because of Hollywood movies like Poltergeist and Amityville Horror, you can really freak yourself out sometimes. So, you know, a lot of times I have difficulty describing how to communicate with spirits without being afraid. Sometimes when spirits come forward, they can feel like a little bit cooler, almost more of a dense feeling where you might get goosebumps up the side of your arm. Sometimes they come as a breeze, sometimes they can screw around with electricity and cell phones and things of that nature. Sometimes they come to you in dream states. But oftentimes they can come to you as a smell. So sometimes, you know, like if you are not a smoker, for example, but somebody wants to get your attention and they smoked, you might smell an abundance of car smoke in your, or, you know, somebody smoking in your car. So they do have different ways to get our attention, but they all the time are trying to help us heal. So that is one thing for certain. So most of the time when I do readings, I look away. I'm not trying to be rude. If I don't, my sister says I stare and never blink, and she said it's creepy, so try not to be creepy. But I was on an episode of Hoarders Buried Alive. I was not the hoarder, but there I was on national television staring like a Stepford wife, so it's a very attractive thing. So anyway, I'm going to stare at all of you with that weird deer in the headlight stare, and we are going to find somebody else that is trying to come forward. Oh my goodness. Well, there is quite a few people coming forward. There are quite a few people coming forward. There is a young girl here who I would estimate is maybe, geez, in her late teens, early 20s. I want to say she's probably 5'5". She has a little bit darker hair that comes a little bit more shoulder length. She has either dimples or lines in the sides of her cheeks when she smiles. She's a little bit more, not very busty, but a little bit more busty, but she's more athletic build. And I don't think that she got to say goodbye. And I want to say that her life was taken pretty quickly or pretty instantly. So I'm not certain if she was in an accident of some sort in a vehicle or what happened to her. But I would think that she's pretty desperate to get in touch with her family. But she's got a little bit more brown colored hair with a little bit, maybe a little bit lighter color on top. And I think that she feels there was so much sadness after she died that she doesn't think it was very easy for people to talk about. And she wants to talk about a bench that was made for her. And I think that she feels that there was something like a scholarship or something with money that was put forward for her. Does she belong to anybody here yet? Yep, you want to come on up? Come on up. Yeah, really. It's okay. I don't bite. Well, maybe. Come on up. What's that? Well, just this plant really likes you. And it really wants you to look at just the plant. Plant, there you go. Not my fault. Well, she knows how hard her death was on people. And I think that she feels, I get this tremendous sense of pressure in the center of my chest, and it's of absolute heartache. And she doesn't know how to fix this or how to make this better. And I'm not certain if you still have like stress from this and you still have bad dreams, and there's just so many times that you want to talk to her and feel like you don't know what to do. But she doesn't want you to feel like you're lost. She doesn't want you to feel like you're wandering. And she's very insistent that you need to know how beautiful you are. And she feels like she doesn't want you to think that she's bitchy. She doesn't want you to think that she's angry with you or upset with you. And she really doesn't want any apologies. And I don't know if you've ever thought about going to a suntanning bed or getting a spray tan, but she's giving you a hard time about your skin color for some reason. And I think that if she could get you to take a trip to go to like Florida or Mexico or Hawaii, she probably thinks she could get her way. She just wants you to know that she'll go with you, so you don't have to make this trip by yourself. But she thinks you can't go with the color skin you have now. And I don't know if you used to do crazier things to your hair where you had big streaks of blonde and then you'd put red in it, and you've had every color under the wheel, but she's giving you a hard time about having more fun with your hair again too. And do you want to have another child by chance? Well, she thinks you need a, oh yeah, and the mic you gotta hold up.
Oh, she's not my child.
Well, she knows, but she thinks you need a child. If this does happen, it's not my fault. You all heard it. Uh-huh. Well, she's laughing. So I'm not certain what she's up to, but it's not my fault. So she just wants you to know that if you need her, She can still hear you, but she doesn't want you to feel empty or feel like part of you's been split open and separated. And I think that she feels the day that she died, you haven't had a sense of peace or balance since then. And she wants to give that back to you because she doesn't want you to feel crazy or feel like she's upset. She's not. And she wants you to know she loves you. She said, really? Do you want to ask her anything? 20.
Yeah. So I just concerned about her parents mostly. Like, if she can do something, like,
Let them know that she's okay. She thinks that's out of her hands, and she actively visits 9 different people here on Earth. So she wants you to know that she's busy a lot. And I don't think she wants anyone to suffer, so she's doing whatever it takes to help have that happen. She doesn't want any more suffering. Are you gonna get a girly tattoo? She thinks that you need to live life more on the edge and do things that are more in style or more trendy. She doesn't want you to be an old woman. And she's grinning when she says this, so I think she's trying to get under your skin.
she did it very well.
She said she did it very well. Oh my gosh. Well, she just wants you to know that she's here. And if you need her, make sure you ask her to come forward, and she always will. And maybe consider having another baby that looked like a dog or something. And she's just grinning, a horrid grin. So she wants you to know she loves you and that she's really here. And she thinks you can start putting your broken heart back together.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you want to pick me a winner? But I'm not going over there because the microphone will be weird.
The deal about the suntan and everything.
Yeah.
Joni is a
Really wouldn't be
hairdresser,
too
and she does have
close.
a tanning at her
understand.
salon. So that was always a big thing. And the gal that
Hold this one.
we think it is was killed in a car accident.
She said she's the gal you think she is.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you're pretty right on with that one.
She wants you to know that she can hear you too. Oh, thanks.
If I'm standing up, I'll be here.
Brooke Briggs. Come on up. You're the next contestant on Who Wants a Medium?
Yeah, see what's on my phone. Oh, I think that.
Hi, here you go. Have a mic, have a seat. Could you sing us something by Streisand? Oh, I tried. You guys will get used to me at some point. All right. Well,
All right, I'll see you tomorrow.
there is a very insistent lady here that is insistent she's going to talk to you. And oddly enough, why she's handing you a Mylar balloon, I have no idea. But she wants to make certain that you know that your prayers are heard and answered. And it's much faster than a satellite signal from a cell phone. She can hear you when you ask. So she wants to say that if you're going to have cake, she hopes it's chocolate. And there's something funny to her about having vanilla ice cream with marshmallow fluff. and chocolate syrup with it too. And I know that she's kind of funny because she said then if you try to take a 20 out to the slot machine, you won't win any money, but it'll still be fun, so try it and don't be so tight. And the casino did not pay me to say that. But I think she thinks you drive her crazy, and yes, I understand. Do you know how I don't know if you have children, but when you have kids, sometimes all day long it's like, hey mom, hey mom, hey mom, hey mom, and then you're like, what? Well, I don't know what you've been doing to her, but she said that you're lucky you got your name picked because she wants to say to you, what? So I don't know what the humor in that is, but she thinks she's pretty funny. And I don't know if you have a sister also, or a sibling that's a female or what, but there's another girl here on Earth who she's also trying to get through to. And so she wants to say that, yes, she has one ear for you and one ear for her, and she's not deaf. So she's very insistent. That she's just answering you because you've been so persistent. So I don't know if any of that makes any sense to you. And if it does, do you want to describe what any of that means? And you gotta hold it up high.
It's my mom. She passed away about almost 4 years ago. Today would have been her birthday, her 69th birthday, so I would assume that's what the balloon and the cake is for.
Aw.
She would have turned 69 today.
Well, she did.
Yep. And yes, I talk to her all the time and always am adamant every day to talk to her. And
so she's healing.
yes. I do have a question. Is my sister with her as well?
Oh, that's the other, so that's...
I have a sister that passed like 6 months after my mom, and I do have a sister here at home too, and that's still alive.
I would suppose that the girl that she's talking about is the one that's with her.
Okay.
So I would say they're absolutely positively together, and I don't know if you're single and why you need a boyfriend.
I don't. I'm not sharing my TV remote.
Well, I think that the two of them together are ganging up on you. And I don't know what your sister's sense of humor or mentality is, but she thinks you need a big, sturdy, bulky farmer with a pickup truck.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Because that's all I talk about when I was younger, was if I was ever going to get married, it was going to be to a farmer.
Any farmers? Any farmers?
I'm not sharing the TV remote.
Well, I think this is turning into a whole nother kind of show. I think your sister's trying to set you up with a big farmer, and so I'm not sure if you want to learn to drive a tractor, but my husband would be thrilled with that. There you go. Anyway, I think that they're doing their best to hook you up. So be aware around the 4th of July if you get some farmer rolling down the street in Dubuque looking for you. It was heaven sent. And your mother wants you to know that cats and dogs don't count as children.
And she's very children.
Well, you better get hoeing with the farmer there.
I'm too old. No more.
Yeah, your mom said she knows how old you are and you're not too old. I don't think you're going to win, so just concede, probably. But they... did you remember that show, Hee Haw?
Yeah, vaguely.
Well, your sister's considering that when you get married, she wants it to be like a hee-haw hoedown. And she wants you to know that she told you so.
Okay, so I have to tell you this.
Oh gosh.
My ideal wedding is in a cornfield and having a hog roast. If I would get married. So this is crazy. This is crazy. Am I lying? Am I telling the truth, friends?
We need a new reality show. Who wants to date a farmer? Come right town for that. Now my Wisconsin accent's poking out. I'm not making this up, I swear.
I don't know how you could.
I know. All right. Oh my gosh. Well, she just wants to make certain that you know that you're going to get your Big Bonanza hog roast barbecue wedding. And they're both very insistent that they're picking that spouse out for you, so you should be very grateful. And chocolate cake, please.
Okay.
With frosting. Hey, I'm all for that. Anybody knows me, the way to my heart is frosting. So, they just want you to know that they love you with all their hearts.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just ready to sing Green Acres. Wait, you gotta pick, Vanna. Get back here. You gotta pick for me. Where are you going? Hey! Look at her. She's leaving me. God. The next guy she picks is gonna be her farmer. Aaron Donuth? I don't know. Aaron is a she or Aaron is a he? Are you a farmer? Do you like corn? Man, you guys are like, why did I spend $15 for this business? You're thinking, oh dear God. That's exactly it. I know. Well, good grief. Well, wouldn't you know that the first person to come up here that's a male has a dog with him? You literally have a dog with you, so that's kind of interesting. Plus, besides there being a dog, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's about 7 other people there. And there's an older gentleman that I think wants to come forward first. And I would have to guess, he looks like he's probably, I would say in his 70s, maybe early 80s. And he's a little bit more rounded in his cheeks. His lips are fairly full, but he's got a little bit more prominent nose. And his hairline kind of goes back on the sides, but kind of comes forward on the front. But he's got these big bear claw kind of fingers where if he looks like he was going to whack you in the head, he'd do a pretty good job. And I don't think he would have been the kind of person that would have ever believed in any of this kind of thing when he was here. But you seem to be his favorite, and he doesn't mind saying that at all. And I don't know if sometimes you just wish you could talk to him or you would know that he's still around. And I don't know if you're considering at some point going back to school or finishing a degree or finally finishing something. But he's kind of funny because he told me to tell you to get up off your ass and get it done. So he's very good about filtering what he thinks. And I don't know if you want to do something that's more like engineering or designing something, but he thinks that you've got this mechanical knack to you, whether you think you do or not. And he feels like, I don't know if sometimes you enjoy like doing computer stuff or video games too much or what he's complaining about, but he thinks you need to turn that energy into something else. And I think he wants you to know he believes in you, and he doesn't want you to be always thinking that good things are never going to happen to you, or you're never going to get ahead, or you're not going to ever have money. He wants you to know that's all a bunch of crap. So he just wants you to know that he thought he'd poke at you. And he hopes that you become more sarcastic. And he thinks that's the best trait anyone can have. And he thinks it's the best when you give someone a hard time and they really don't know if you're kidding or not. So you like walk out a door looking behind you, looking on your shirt so that you're a little paranoid. And he thinks that's the best type of humor to have. And he thinks that you've got to get better at, fine-tuning that, and he thinks that's the way to pick up women too. And I don't think sarcasm works for picking up women, I'm just saying. So he wants you to know that he's there, and if you need anything, you have to know that he's available for you, and he doesn't want you to be irritable or upset when people are trying to push you back into school, and quit giving people a hard time and making excuses about it. Because he thinks you have more excuses than Carter has pills. So there's a way back reference from the 70s. But anyway, he wants you to know that he can hear you. Do you want to ask him anything?
Don't know what that.
You can ask anything your heart desires, except for lotto numbers, because I'll take them.
I know this is my Uncle Ray, great Uncle Ray. It's him to a T. I remember we always play poker. We play penny ante, just a penny, 5 cents max, and he drew the first hand. He draws, he gets 4 twos, and he's big old grin, laughing. He bets it, we bets, and we follow him. And then next hand, same thing. He's like, do I get my twos? And he pulls his two. I got my twos, and he laughs and he throws it down on the table, and we're all like, how does he do it 2 hands in a row? Beyond me, but yeah, that's one of the memories I have of him.
Well, he thinks you gotta get to learning that, I would guess. And he wants you to follow suit and be as crotchety as he is. So if you ever feel like somebody's nagging at you to go back to school and sign up for classes.
Yeah, I'm actually, I'm up at UD right now, so.
Oh good, you might want to finish. Don't drop out.
I got 1 more year left, so.
And that's the worst.
Yeah.
So he just wants you to know he's with you every step of the way. And he wants you to know that you're still his favorite. So there you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now you go on there. I feel like we can yell like The Price is Right. Come on down. What'd you get? Angie Demmer. Do we have an Angie Demmer?
That sounds so familiar.
She looks like she's going to throw up. Alrighty. Here you go. Hi. Alrighty. Well, you've got quite a few people with you. And there's kind of a burly guy coming forward that wants to talk first. And he's kind of got like a crew cutty haircut almost. And you know how people get like that 3 o'clock shadow on their cheeks? He's got that a little bit. And I want to say when he was here, he kind of had like those gray-blue colored eyes. And he's pretty tan on his face, neck, and arms, but like I don't think he ever wore shorts a day in his life. And he's a little bit more just rounded, more burly in the front. But I think he's making fun of your father for some reason. And I think that he thinks this is where sometimes you get all your bad family traits from. And he laughed out loud. So I know that he must hopefully be coming from your dad's side of the family, not your mother's. Oh my gosh. Well, he feels like, I think he wants you to not always feel like people on the other side aren't there for one another. And I don't know if there's something about you don't want 2 other people to be in heaven by themselves, or you don't want someone to be alone by themselves. But he's got 2 other spirits with him, and he feels like he wants you to know that they're in good hands, or that they're okay, and nobody on the other side is ever alone. And even if you worry about that, it's not valid or it's not real, and that everyone's taken care of, everyone's very loved, and no one is lonesome or left by themselves. And I think that he feels when you were a young child, he thinks you had a very tender heart, and he thinks that this has never left you. And I don't know why he thinks that your biggest fear is that someone's wandering by themselves or don't have anybody they know that are with them, or what your fear is, but I think he's coming forward to tell you that they've got more people than you can imagine with them. And I think that he's going to bring them forward for you, but he's very insistent that your dad's people are stubborn, if anything. And so he wants you to know that they're a very loyal family. They never give up on anyone, and they're never would abandon anyone. So he doesn't want you to feel ever that you have to worry about anyone in heaven. And he wants you to know that he's there and he's taking care of things for you. So he doesn't want you to be afraid, and he doesn't want you to feel like your life is over. So he wants you to know that. And did you want to talk to a child today too?
I haven't.
Yeah. Did you want to talk to the boy first? Yeah. There is a boy that wants to come forward, and he's with this gentleman, and I think that he doesn't know how do I say this? He thinks like there's so much heartache and there's so much pain that he doesn't know how to make this better or how to help this heartache go away. And I don't know if he was just kind of a sunshiny, happy-go-lucky guy when he was here, but he still is. And so I think he feels that there's double heartache here, there's double upset, and this is something he doesn't know how to fix, because he feels like he's trying so hard to send messages that they're all together and they're all okay, but he feels like there's still so much pain he doesn't know what to do. And so he's showing a softball or a baseball that he's been trying to move across the floor. And so I think he likes to be in a house and physically move things to get people's attention. He's learning how to do that. And I think also, I don't know if people are still sleeping with his t-shirts or sleeping with some of his clothing as like security, but there's something where I think he's trying to infuse his spirit onto things to give people a sense of comfort. So he wants to talk about that. And I think that there's nothing worse in the world than when someone loses a child. It's absolutely devastating, and it's a very terrible thing. And I don't know if the circumstance of his death was so awful that nobody even wants to think about it. But I think that he wants to be certain that people know that he crossed over into heaven before his body did. So I don't know what happened to him, and if there was a sense of heat, or if there was a sense of something happening beforehand where people would be afraid that he suffered. But he wants to say that his spirit went to heaven before his body died. So he doesn't want anybody to feel like he was suffering. And he wants to, I think, I don't know, he wants to talk about his dad. And so I don't know if that's something people want to let go of, but he feels like he's so full of love, he has no more anger and no more upset in his heart with anybody. And so he feels like he doesn't want anybody to be mad anymore. He doesn't want anybody to have the burden of having anger and absolute horror in their heart. So he doesn't want any more pain for anybody. And I don't know what happened to him when he crossed over, but he just wants to be very certain people know that he didn't suffer. And he keeps saying that again and again, and he wants people to understand his body died, but his spirit was already in heaven before that. So he wants to say he had 3 angels come to get him, and he wasn't afraid. So he wants to be certain you understand that. And I don't know, is there another child that's a girl then there? Okay. She looks younger to me. She looks like she's maybe 16, 17, so I don't know. She just looked very young. She said she was 20. But she's got kind of a funny sense of humor. And I don't know if she was a little more, not smart-assy, well, maybe sometimes. But when she comes forward, she is like a nut. But you gotta love her, because I think she's doing her best to make people laugh or tell people that, yeah, not that she's a bad influence on anyone over there, but she's sure trying. So she's got a very funny sense of humor, and I'm not certain what she means, but she feels like the way to connect with her is if you would go shopping and buy things, because that would make her happy. So I don't know in particular if you really want to wear like Victoria's Secret, like kind of like those sweatpants and clothes they have, but she thinks that's a good start. And I don't know if you want to get a boat at some point and go to the river in the summer, or you want to do something that's more fun with like rafting or spending time in the sun and doing river things. But she thinks like you get too much in the air conditioning and you get to be too much of a hermit and tell people you don't want to do things, so she wants you to quit being a stick in the mud. And evidently you've got some fangirls there that agree. So the more you can go out, the happier she would be. Oh my goodness. And she really wouldn't mind if you don't listen to her. She wouldn't be against scaring you. So she suggests maybe you go so that she doesn't have to slam doors or open garage doors or do weird things with doorbells. But she will. And she's kind of doing it like where she's threatening you. But she's not sad about that. And then there is a lady there that's gotta be, my goodness, probably in her early 80s, who's a little more rounded. And you know, sometimes when you get the bat wings going on just a little, she's got that going on. And she's a little bit more full in her front, but her hair is kind of cut short at the nape of her neck. And you know when ladies had like the pin curls in their hair, like they get more, like whatever those gray curlers were with the pink pins. She's got that going on, and she's also kissing her fingertips and putting them right to your face, and she's got all of them with her. And so she's very insistent. She's there too, and nobody's suffering, and she's got everyone. Now with the little guy though that's there, when people cross over, sometimes they don't want to be the same age in heaven for whatever reason, so they have a tendency to age appropriately. And so I think he wants people to know that he's doing his best to age the way he should be, because he doesn't want to be stuck. And so sometimes if people, as time goes by, see an adult form, that's him. Do you want to say anything, or do you want to talk about anything? and I know it's very hard. They're really okay. They're really okay. He just...
The girl,
Yeah, hold it up.
the young girl, have a message for her mom and dad.
She is absolutely sending nothing but unconditional love, but she wants to talk about necklaces with like something on the bottom. And I don't know if everybody got a matching necklace for her, but she wants to say that she thinks it's kick-ass. However you want to interpret that. Does that make sense? Oh, good. Yep. Oh, shit, they want you to tell everybody, so.
They were all given the same necklace when Sarah passed away, and they all wear it with the same saying on it, on the back of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the little guy there, he just wants people to get anger out of their heart, or he doesn't want people to be so mad anymore. And he hopes people can come to a place of forgiveness. And when people on the other side talk about forgiveness, that does not mean that we like what other people have done to us. That does not mean that we accept what others have done. But when we forgive people, we take our power back and we no longer suffer from what someone else did to us. So forgiving someone is perfectly selfish, because when you forgive someone, you heal yourself. But when you haven't forgiven someone for causing hurt or pain, they live in your life every single day. And so I don't know who he's so desperate to help people forgive, but he doesn't want hate in anybody's heart anymore. And you don't have to say anything, and it's okay. It's all right, but he just wants people to forgive. Okay? Sound like a plan? Yep. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to ramble away about a few other things that sometimes happen. Sometimes when spirits come forward, like I think I was on the radio, was it yesterday, with Chris Farber, he said a very good question. He asked me, why do spirits not come forward and just give their name? Like, hi, I'm Fred from, Butte, Montana. I don't know, and I wish they would too. But consider this, let's say we've all crossed over and we're all in heaven and we're pure spirit. So we don't really have our human body and we don't have our human voice because we're in pure spirit form, and we can connect with all the other spirits here in the room and talk to them just fine. But how are you going to get a message here to earth to your loved ones to let them know that you're okay? So I think when spirits try to leave us messages, sometimes it can be kind of crazy. And this last December, I lost my dad. And that was the hardest thing I've ever had to go through in my life. And my dad was in hospice. And I was trying to help him, before he died, send his spirit to heaven. So we did a meditation where I had him picture that he was on this lotus petal, which kind of looks like a giant rock because it's kind of jagged, and it was a beautiful ruby red, and he was going to send his spirit ahead of time to heaven so that when he got there he'd know where to go and it was all going to be okay. Well, my dad died on December 7th, and 2 days later someone on Facebook messaged me, and it was the neatest thing in the world, because you would think, me being a medium, oh great, you can talk to your dad anytime you want. Hey, good for you. Not so much, because I'm so close to it and I have so much grief and I have so much pain. I can't hear him yet. And so what happens when we're suffering? It's like opposite ends of a magnet. Sometimes we just want a message from our loved ones so terribly and we can't seem to make that connection. So when you try to put two magnets together that are at opposite ends, it pushes away. So that's where I am in my grieving process with my dad. So 2 days after he died, a person on Facebook sent me a note and said, I'm really sorry, I know you're grieving and I don't know if this makes any sense to you, but I have a message from your dad and it's Red Rock. 2 words, Red Rock. And I started crying right away because I knew that he was trying to send me a message that he was okay. And my sister had her friend's son over who is a teenager, and he's an intuitive kid, and when my dad was dying, I had just lost my beloved collie, Isis. And I said to my dad, I said, Dad, you've got to go find Isis for me. I don't know where she is. And he said, I'll find her, I'll find her. And when my sister's friend was over, he said to my sister, hey, who's the guy here in red pants, red hat, red shirt with a big fat dog? And so then I knew again that it was my dad. And so if, like on my birthday, I asked my dad to send me a message, and I said, okay, whatever the next song is, Dad, it's going to be a message from you, I know it, because I still can't talk to him. And I turned on the radio and it was a song, and the lyrics are, heaven has a plan for you, and it's about a father talking to his child. And so I'm like, ooh. I'm like, very funny. So my dad does try to get to me, but I still have such a heavy heart. It's really hard to connect. So before we start some more readings, who saw the Hoarders Buried Alive episode that I was on? Yeah? Okay, quite a few of you. There is a neat trick that I'm going to teach all of you to do, that when you go home, if you don't get to see me here on stage tonight, you can do that too. So I'm going to set my microphone down and take off my necklace and show you how this works. Do we get some like So what you're going to do when you go home, if you have a necklace that you wear, or if you have a loved one's piece of jewelry, you're going to say a prayer that you do your highest good and you do the highest good of the person you're trying to communicate with. And so what you do is you hold your hand, you can put your elbow on the table and you'll hold your hand probably 2 inches off. But usually, and I'm going to really emphasize this so that all of you can see, usually for me, yes is like a great big circle like that. Okay, so that might be a yes. And for you, a yes might be different. So you're going to say, please show me yes. So for me, it's a great big circle. Then if you study it and you say, show me no, for me, usually no is back and forth like someone shaking their head no. But if it doesn't move sometimes after you ask a question, it just might be, I don't know, or maybe. But anyway, so let's try it. We'll start here and I'll study it and say, show me yes. And as you can see, it takes a second, but it'll start to go in a circular motion. And if I say, show me no, it'll stop and go back to a horizontal motion. And that's all you do. So if you really want to talk to someone, and I do not use this more often than you need to, only use it when you're really missing that person and you want to make sure that they're with you. Or you can be sneaky like me. I talk to my grandma and ask her where I left my cell phone. And I walk around, is it in the living room? Is it in the bedroom? But I always find it after 5 days. But still, it does work. So you can communicate with your loved ones that simply. And never, ever, ever underestimate the power of prayer. And it doesn't matter if you're Jewish or Islamic or Buddhist or Christian, pray and ask that your loved one come to you, because they will come to you, and they do want to come to you, and they do want to make contact with you. And by praying and asking for your loved one to come forward, it only brings you closer to whatever current religious beliefs you have. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So anyway, I am going to talk to some more spirits over here, because there's quite the conga line, and we'll see who's coming forward next. But there is kind of a more red-haired gentleman here, and he, I want to say, is probably 5'9". I don't think he's particularly tall, but he's got like a plaid button-up shirt on. He's got a pair of like slacks on, and I want to say that he did something mechanical in his life with his hands, and he's kind of a quiet fellow, I think a lot, but I think he preceded his wife in death, and I want to say he misses her terribly, and I think that sometimes he's worried that she gets this idea in her head that she's always going to cross over the next day or the next day or the next day. But he's a very good-looking gentleman, and he kind of has more like Bing Crosby blue-colored eyes, and he kind of smells like aqua velva of all crazy things. But I think he was a little bit more quiet and mild-mannered when he was here, and I don't think he was very good at telling her how much that he did love her. But I swear his wife is here in the audience, and I'm not certain if he's missed too many anniversaries through being crossed over, but I do know that he really wants to talk to her, but I think he worries that she's got arthritis, and he worries that she's got sciatica, and I think that he worries that she just doesn't feel well. And so he's trying to come forward and comfort her. So I don't know if anybody knows who he goes to. I think he wants to talk to his wife, but he thinks that she's out here. And I don't know, but I think he doesn't want her to be miserable or be sad anymore, but he's just hoping that she comes forward. So does anybody know who he goes to? And I want to say he had a nickname that he got called by instead of his given name. Jeez. He's not going to leave me alone. Help me. Hit me. I think quite a bit. He spent a lot of time like in a side yard garage that reminds me about the size of a Model T garage. And I think he had quite a few siblings when he was here, and he thinks he came from a larger family, and I think he thinks that they were good people. But I want to say that he feels like he has some kind of European or Irish or English ancestry too, that they were all very proud of. And I don't know what his joke is, but I think he thinks he used to get in trouble in parochial school. So, but if nobody's claiming him, I will move forward. And if that makes sense to somebody and they don't want to come on stage, you can always talk to me after. So he's here, but I want to say, oh God, because he won't stop. I want to say he had a nickname that sounded like, you know, like when you call somebody Rusty, or you call somebody, I don't know, some color nickname like Whitey or Blackie or something. Crash. Whoops, I can't see, I'm blind up here. Do you know that he's not necessarily answering me one way or the other there, but I think he's trying to get to his wife.
I wouldn't be his wife.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't think.
But I lost a neighbor that I was pretty close to, and his nickname was Crash, and he used to wear a plaid shirt all the time.
Is his wife still here?
Yeah.
Do you mind taking messages back to her?
Okay.
Well, you want to come on up?
I don't know if it's him, but I can
Oh,
try.
well, we'll see. How about
Okay.
we'll just check it out and see if it makes sense to you. Come on up. There you go. Have a seat. Well, he's a very polite gentleman. And I think that he feels when he died, I think he's worried about his wife being lonesome or worried about her being miserable or not having companionship. And it's something that I think bothers him quite a bit. And it seems like he's the kind of fellow that would give the shirt off his back to anyone who needed it. And I think he was a very gentle person and had time for anybody who ever needed his help, and he would help anyone. And I think he was kind of a anomaly for his time, because I don't think he was a very prejudiced person. I don't think he had anything against women in the workforce. I mean, he's a very gentle soul. And so I think it would be hard not to just fall in love with his character or his personality. And he's pretty insistent that he wants to be very grateful or very full of gratitude to say thank you from the bottom of his heart for sending messages for him. So I think you do have the right person, because when he comes forward, he's got a white handkerchief in his pocket, and he gets a little more weepy or a little more sentimental. And he, I think, sometimes stands to the left of you. So if you're at home and you ever have a sense or a presence, like you feel like someone's there, you look and there's nothing there, but you're not afraid, but it's just like a sense that something's there. I think he's pretty insistent that he'd like to come through. And I don't know why he'd be so worried about like tulips and why he'd be worried about bulb flowers. But I think he's worried about yard maintenance, and I think he's worried about like ball flowers, like peonies. Oh God, they look like women's dresses. Hollyhocks. So I don't know if somebody needs to help tend to her yard and weed and get out there and make it look nice. And I don't certainly think he's trying to guilt anybody, but I think he's trying to ask nicely if somebody could do that. And he'd be very appreciative of that. And I think he doesn't want to upset her or disturb her or say anything that would bother her, but I think he's doing his best just to send absolute and unconditional love, and I think he wants her to know that she's maybe more okay than she thinks she is. And he really just wants to send her love. And I think what's amazing to me is it's that kind of love that lasts beyond time and space. And when you really love someone and you love them with all your heart, you will do whatever it takes to get a message to that person you loved. So she may not have thought maybe they had a fairy tale romance or had a fairy tale life, but the love that he loves her with can't be broken by time or space. And he wants to send to her nothing but love. And so he doesn't know how else to do that. And so I think he's just simply asking from his heart. And I don't know if you go home and tell her you had the weirdest dream last night. And just say, this is what I've got. Or if you just tell her what you did and have her look at you cross-eyed. But I think he really wants to be certain people know he's okay and he's still looking out for her. And I think he thinks she's still got some kick left in her step. So there you go. Kind of neat, huh?
Thank you. It made sense.
Excellent. And I'm going to tell you guys a quick story that I told on the air the other day, or I guess my friend Tom Froelich told. When I was at Tom Froelich's house one day, he had told me that he was laying in bed and he had felt somebody pulling his toes. And he has 2 little kids, so he thought his kids were up to no good and pulling his toes. And I had gone over to his house for a meeting before we started shooting our show, and he said, "Moriah, who the heck is in my house pulling my toes?" And I said, "Well, there's a guy here, and his name's Bud." And he's like, "I don't know any Bud." And I said, "Well, he watches the Cubs games with you." And I said that he likes to be in the backyard when you're watching the Cubs games. So he said, "Well, I'm going to ask everyone in the family and I'll see." So he asked everybody in his family. Nobody knew who the heck Bud was or why Bud was watching the Cubs games with him and pulling his toes. Well, about 3 days later, his friend from down the street, Dave, was sitting in front of the computer with his kids when they saw a whoosh of light, like a hand, go over the screen. And his friend Dave said, "Don't you know that wacky medium? Do you know that wacky medium?" He said, "Yeah, I know the wacky medium." And so he said, "Can you ask her what this hand was in front of the computer screen?" So Tom called me, and I said, "Well, that was Bud." And he's like, "Oh God, this Bud guy again?" So then he called his friend Dave, and Dave came over to his house, and he said, "Well, I asked her, and she said it's some guy named Bud who watches the Cubs games with me." And poor Dave's face went white as a sheet. His grandfather's name was Bud. They buried him in a Cubs uniform, and it was his grandfather. So sometimes what happens, prime example of what happened here tonight, a spirit is so desperate to get to someone, and that someone may not be there, but his grandpa was smart enough to know that Tom and Dave were best friends, and that if he screwed around enough with Tom, he'd eventually figure it out. So sometimes when a spirit is absolutely desperate to get a message to someone, they may use you as a neighbor, they may use you as a friend. So if you ever get a weird message and you're thinking, it might not be for you, it might be for someone you know. So that kind of a thing happens. So anyway, I'm going to do this myself. And I'll let you spin. Oh, you got a key. Aren't you something? Oh, should I do it? Diane Pins. Do we have a Diane Pins? Going once, going twice. Come on up. Hey, I like the sparkles. Oh, look at the legs. Oh my God, this is a woman after my own heart. Sparkles. Sparkles. I think I could have been a crow in my last life because I could sit here for about 2 hours and just do this. I'm kind of blingy myself.
You're bringing your eye.
Oh yeah, I've got sparkle eyes. Well, it's a good thing I have ADD because someone says sparkle. Whew, there it is. All right, let's see. Well, there are quite a few people coming forward. But there is a more elderly lady that wants to talk, and she's not a very heavy lady. She's pretty trim. She has a little bit higher cheekbones. Her forehead is a little bit more narrow in comparison, but she's got a little more pointiness to her chin. And I'm not saying that she's gaunt, but it's just like her cheekbones are a little bit more sunken in, and she's a little bit more narrow. And you know how sometimes people get that little bit of a, not necessarily like a hump, but they kind of lean forward. She's got that going a little bit. But I think that she's been gone for a while because she's not exactly dressed modern. So I would say, I think this lady would have been born maybe early 1900s, and I want to say she would have died maybe in the 1970s, 1980s. And she's got quite a few messages for you. And I think that she feels that you have a wonderful sense of humor, which she's making a crack that she thinks you got that from your mother, not your father. And she said it just like that. And I think that she also feels sometimes she doesn't know how to help you not have to be in the middle of everyone else's issues or problems. So she worries that sometimes you end up giving away so much of your time and so much of yourself to others that she doesn't think you have a lot of time in the day to focus on things that give you a sense of peace or a sense of balance. And I think that she worries you're on the go 24/7, and she feels like you don't know how to just slow down, and she doesn't even think you feel comfortable sitting in a chair for too long without getting fidgety or feeling like you got to get going. And she understands that that's just what you do, but she wants you to fully enjoy yourself. Good grief. And certainly you may not think you have a lovely singing voice or that you sound good when singing, but she likes to hear you sing. And so I don't know if she's suggesting you get a karaoke job, I'm not sure. But she feels like your heart brightens when you're around music or have that energy around you. And I think that she, yes, I understand. I think she just wants you, if you want to take a trip, you take a trip. If you want to go enjoy yourself with girlfriends, then that's what you have to do. And I think that she worries that you think too much. And she doesn't think you ever turn off your thinking. And she just wants you to know that she loves you. And I guess that she doesn't think that you like to be cooped up for too long, and that's okay with her, but she doesn't want to take all your time because there's a gentleman next to her that's kind of elbowing her to be quiet because he wants to get his 2 cents in. And I think he'll probably win. But she wants you to know that she's there for you, and if you need her, yes, you can ask her for help too. And she worries that sometimes you exhaust yourself and you're tired and you still keep going. And she doesn't like that. So she just wants you to know that if you feel like sitting, then sit. And if you feel like going, then go. But you have a right to do either. And she wants to make certain you take care of yourself.
That's my mom.
And she also, yes, I understand. She doesn't think that you need to have like soda, and she doesn't think like you need to have caffeinated drinks, and she thinks that you need to drink more water. She said she hasn't changed a bit. So she just wants you to know that she's available, and she keeps saying that, and he's rolling his eyes like, God, we know this already, we know. And she just slapped him in the arm. So I guess she's going to tell him. But he, I would guess, looks to me like he's maybe in his 60s. I don't think he looks particularly old. But he has his hair parted where he has it combed over like to the top, but it's pretty short beneath his ears. But he has a part running down the side of his hairline. And I'd say he's probably 6 foot tall. He kind of has a smell about him that reminds me of like raisins or the smell of like pipe tobacco before it's been smoked. It's kind of a dry, spicy scent. And he's got his arms folded because I think that he has some regrets and some apologies for you. And I think he found it hard to communicate what he really wanted to say, or he feels like it's hard to express himself, and he really wants you to know that he loves you and he never meant to be silent or not say what he thought. And I think he feels like when you were little, he has to agree with her that you had more energy than a jet engine. And I think he feels like you were always getting into trouble. And he gets to chuckling that if you would have ever learned not to talk back, you never would have got in trouble. So he feels like even when you were little, you had to come up with excuses about why things were the way they were. And he thinks that sometimes you got yourself into more trouble with that, but he's glad to hear that you're still full of piss and vinegar to this day. So he just wants you to know that he's also proud of you. And I think that he feels like nobody tries harder to make things nice for people than you do. And he just wants to give you a pat on the back. And he wants to tell you you're doing a hell of a good job. Okay. And I think that he feels like you can't spoil children by rewarding them with candy. And I don't know if that was his way around things, but I think he thinks you got a bunch of health nuts in your family and none of them know what the hell they're talking about. So he thinks that when kids come over...
That's my brother.
And he thinks that when kids come over, you should give them those king-size Snicker bars and just throw them at them. Because he thinks all of their parents are stodgy and overbearing, and he doesn't think, you would never eat a bran muffin, why would you make a kid eat one? So I don't know why people in the family give the children cardboard, but he suggests you be the, what is that called, the trailblazer, and start handing out king-size Snickers at family events. I'm sure it'll go real well. But they both want you to know that they're here for you and that they love you with all that they are. And yeah, he said, even me. And so I think he's trying to tease you a little. And he's very good looking, he wants me to tell you. He asked if all of you agreed. So he's got kind of a corny sense of humor. So he wants you to know that you're okay.
That's good.
Yeah. But your mom keeps slapping you in the cheek like that. And she just kissed you. She just kissed you right on your lips. She's a lip kisser. So she wants you to know that she'll be with you the rest of the night. She's going to drive home with you too.
I can use that.
She agrees. And I don't know if she was pretty good at the fake dashboard brake thing, but be aware when she drives, she's got one hand on the dash and the other on the fake brake, so she's pretty good at backseat driving, but she wants you to know she loves you. Oh. So there you go. But, well, there is another lady here that is trying to get my attention, and I don't know what she's saying, but she has 3 letters in her name. So I don't know if, and it sounds like it has a D in it. So I don't know if it's like Ida or Oda or Ada.
Yoda.
But I think that she has about 7 children, and I want to say she has a medical caduceus above her head, the 2 snakes with a staff. And I want to say she was maybe in her 80s when she crossed over, so I'm not certain if she was a nurse or if she worked in the medical field. But I think that she wants to get in touch with her kids. But I'm not certain what her, if it's Ida or Ona or Ina or Ora, Oda, I don't know. But I think she's got about 7 children. And I don't know if she worked like in a nursing home or hospital or what she would have done. But if anybody knows who she goes to, anybody want to talk to her, going once, going twice. Oh, where? I can hear, I can't see. This way. Oh, I'll let you get to the beautiful Chad, my lovely husband. He'll kill me for that later.
I think that might be my grandmother, but I'm not
Would you
sure.
like to come talk to her?
Sure.
Okay, well come on up. Gosh, it's so quiet in here. Makes me nervous.
Me too.
I know. Just talk about something. So I can say class. Well, I think that, did your grandma have like 7 children then, somewhere around there?
6.
6, okay. Well, she's a very dear lady, and she's very determined that she's still watching everyone. And what's an interesting concept is that heaven is all around us. We can be here, we can be there. And so there's no such thing as linear time on the other side. So they all think they saw you yesterday, they all think they're going to see you tomorrow, and they forget that there's a 60-year gap there. But I think that she chooses to be here on earth, and I don't think anybody's going to talk her out of that, because that's just how it's going to be with her. But she watches all of these kids, plus their children and their children. And so I don't know if there have been some children in the family that have talked about like toys turning on in the middle of the night, or seen a lady in their room.
Yes.
Oh, there, okay. Well, nobody needs to freak out or think it's somebody strange. It's your grandmother. And she's really not trying to scare anybody. I think that she just likes screwing around with things to turn it on to see how it works. But she loves babies. That is her #1 thing. She loves children. She loves babies. And she's laughing, and it makes me nervous for somebody because she thinks somebody's about to get a set of twins. So I don't know.
I hope it's not me.
Yeah. No, that's Quince for you. Yeah. Bad medium joke. But I don't know if there's any twins in that family at all. But she thinks somebody is going to either get a set of twins, or they're going to be like Irish twins where they're 10 months apart. So she thinks it's very funny, but I'm pretty certain the mother probably does not find any humor in it at all. So she's very excited, and I think that's probably happening within the next 18 months, and she's very tickled about this, so she wants to tell you and all of you too. So I don't know if it was like she was the matriarch of the family and she kind of held the family together and was the very loving force, but she just wants to be certain that people know that she's not willing to give that up yet. And she really still wants to stay in charge. And she very, very, very much adores holidays. And so sometimes when spirits are trying to make their presence known, they'll show up as a little bulb of white light, like an orb. Now sometimes orbs in pictures can be dust or moisture or insects, but in her case, she's showing up in pictures because she really wants people to understand and know that she's there. And she is sending nothing but absolute and unconditional love. And I think that she, I don't know if you're also considering at some point going back to school to finish something, but she really thinks that you need to teach what you know to be true. And she feels like you have a patience for people that isn't very normal. So she thinks you're extraordinarily tolerant. She thinks you're very compassionate, and you understand other people's heartache. So you don't have to quit your day job. But if you did want to be like a teacher, a therapist, a grief counselor, or work in healing and helping, she thinks you've inherited those from her. And she wants you to know that you can do it. And she really believes in you 100%. And she doesn't think it will be difficult or overwhelming, and with her help, the test will be much easier. Where was she when I was in college? So she wants you to know that if you have 2 years or 2 semesters or you want to go back, she's with you 100%. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, some.
Okay, good. Because she's very insistent. She still wants to be here. And I just can't figure out what the name is, but it has like 3 letters.
It's Ida.
Ida, okay. And she's agreeing with you. So she wants to be certain, you know, that you're not alone and that your family's in good hands still. Capable hands. So she only wants you to know she's there.
Good.
So there you go. And you want to pick one more for me?
Oh, sure.
Who's the last victim of the day? Jenna Johnson. Do we have a Jenna? Oh, there she is. Come on over. Still so quiet. You guys are all so polite and nice. Jeez.
We're like dogs. I know, I just went through the wax museum.
Hi.
James thinks wax.
You're like, what did I do? Oh my goodness, there's quite a few people coming forward. And not often do I always get younger people, so sometimes when I see that, that's kind of surprising. There's a younger gentleman that I think really wants to come forward and talk to you. And I don't know why he has so many apologies or why he feels like his death was so difficult on so many people. But I think he's a little worried that there's more answers, or there's more questions than there are answers. And I'm not certain if people are still questioning how he crossed over or what happened, and that there's not been any closure. But he's pretty insistent he wants to come forward and talk. And I don't think he's intentionally pushing anyone else out of the way, but I think his energy is so strong that he's kind of pushed himself to the front of the line. And he doesn't think that you're very judgmental of anyone. And he thinks that you have a very open heart. And I think that he feels one of your finest qualities is that you don't judge people or you don't put people down. And I think that after he died, he feels like there were a lot of stories or a lot of words that were spoken that weren't true. And he feels like you never made any judgments, and he doesn't know how to thank you from the bottom of his heart for that. And I think he also worries about his family still to this day coping or being able to get through this. And he's not certain how to let them know that he's all right. But I think he feels that anytime anybody talks about him, they kind of shut down, or people just don't mention it. And it's almost like it's the 300-pound elephant in the room. And so if anybody could be a mediator or somehow get their neck out, he thinks it's you. And so he hates to kind of guilt you into that, but he's happy that you're willing to do that. And so he is very desperate just to tell people that he's really okay, that he's not hurt, and that he's exactly where he should be on the other side. And he really wants you to know that you're okay too. And I think sometimes when he's around, if you have a sense of anxiety or you just suddenly feel like someone's there, I don't think he's intentionally trying to give you anxiety or upset you, but he gets so excited to be able to communicate. Yes. And I hate to tell you this about yourself, and you really, you don't have to quit your regular job. But you have the vibration of being a psychic, a medium, a hands-on healer. So you probably, for most of your life, will attract weirdos to you in restaurants and airports that come up to you and tell you their whole life history and every dysfunction they've ever had. And maybe I would suggest you don't work in an animal shelter or anything like that. It might be a little too overwhelming. But if you think that you're getting messages from the other side and you think you're hearing and seeing things that no one else is, you are. So, you're not crazy. Well, you might be, but not that much. So just be aware. I think besides seeing and hearing him, there's about 4 other regulars that show up in your house. And I would believe that they're trying to guide you and help you to have peace, but your house is very full. So just be aware that's because you're open to this, and you don't have to do anything with it, but I think that if you ever wanted to talk to him with pendulum or you wanted him to come to you in dream state, he absolutely would. But he's just so very grateful that you've never judged him. And he keeps insisting that I thank you for that. And he really sends you nothing but heartfelt love. And he wants you to know he's okay. And I don't know if you've ever wanted to learn to go snowboarding, but he thinks that you need to do more extreme sports or do something that's more fun. And I don't know why he thinks you lead such a dull and boring life, but he does. And so if he could get you to jump out of a plane, he thinks that might be a start for you. So he feels like, oh God, if you do this from heaven for him, it would mean the world to him. So I know he's trying to guilt you inappropriately, but he wants you to know he loves you, but he thinks you're living a dull life. So I think he was a bit of a daredevil. Do you want to ask him anything?
Not right now.
Okay. Well, if you can think of something, you can always hit me up later. All right. So there you go, sweetheart. All right, well, we're going to wrap up, but if you have a question that you want to ask, I think we've got a couple microphones out there. I'll give one to you, Laura. Oh, you got one. All right. Yeah. Oh, we'll get the front row question right there. We'll take one question, sure.
I'd like to know if my sister is pain-free now.
Well, when people cross over, nobody on the other side has pain anymore. That's something that's done and over with. And if people, when they're here, have mental illness, they don't take that with them. Or if they have a developmental disability, they don't take that with them. So you can guarantee that when people cross over, they don't have pain and they're really okay. So she would not take that with her at all. You're welcome. And no question is too weird for me because you all know who you're talking to.
Hello.
Ooh. Oh, there we go.
Hi. I was up there earlier. I have a daughter that has a son who's going to be 2, but she goes into his room a lot and he's always looking up and talking, like babbling, but
Right.
talking. Do you think he's talking to spirits?
Well, that's a strange question to ask me.
But I mean, always.
Yeah, I have a 2-year-old daughter also who quite often does that. Now, all 3 of my older children can do what I do, and so can both of my nephews. And I really do believe that children's imaginary friends are their loved ones that have crossed over or guides. And I think because if we don't tell children, oh, that's in your head, oh, that's not real, and we just ask them, well, who is that? What do they look like? You might find that indeed they're talking to someone, that has crossed over. And when children are 3 or 4, they don't really know who the people are that crossed over in the family. So maybe just ask questions and ask them what they look like, or do they have a name?
She asked, Layton, who are you talking to? And he goes, TT, which is his other daughter's who's alive. I'm talking to TT, but he don't know a whole lot of He calls all girls TT, so I don't know if it's a girl that he's
So
talking
maybe
to.
he's just trying to say in his own way, wait till he's a little older to ask him more details.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would believe him.
But she sees it a lot, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I got one back here.
Okay, Lolo.
My question would be that in the beginning you kind of said that sometimes loved ones come through electricity and things like that, and you also said through colors, and I was just kind of curious what you meant by how they come through with colors.
With colors, right. I've had the experience of seeing a spirit that was my grandma at the foot of my bed, but she looked like cotton candy pink amoeba with white light. It was more like a fog kind of a thing. And sometimes when they come through as colors, you can see that in your mind's eye sometimes. Or in particular, if somebody's favorite color was red and their name was Fred, and then that day you meet 6 guys named Fred in a red shirt, that's a God wink from the other side that they're there. So sometimes they can take forms like that. And one day I was in Galena over at the Piggly Wiggly feeling sorry for myself and schlepping the cart, going up the aisle, and I saw a lady coming down who looked identical to my grandmother. And I was so caught off guard, I took in my breath, I stopped crying, and then I'm like running 90 miles an hour trying to around the corner to go see her. And when I passed the lady again, she looked absolutely nothing like my grandmother. So sometimes spirits can come through us to tell us to knock it off, through a person even. And then when we look at them, they look nothing like the person you thought. So they can be kind of tricky with color, things of that nature. They do try to get our attention that way. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Can I just sit down?
No, you can lay down if you want.
I would rather lay down. This past year, there's been a lot of change in my life, and I just want to make sure that the choices that I've made, everyone maybe should be in agreement with, or that they were.
Well, change is never a bad thing, because if your old self dies, your new self is reborn. And there is no such thing as good or bad. The only thing that makes it so is your perception. So if you're making choices with your heart, trying to do the very best for yourself, there's no wrong answer. And even when you think that you're disappointing someone on the other side, you absolutely positively are not. Because do you have a child right now?
I have 2, yeah.
Okay, how much do you love those kids? So can they do anything that will make you stop loving them, or you think, oh, what a moron they are, why'd they do that? You got your answer, sweetheart. Nobody's judging you, and you are absolutely on your right path. And sometimes when we're not on the right path, it kind of feels like we're drunk. So until you get your sea legs, it can be a little scary, but you're really okay. You betcha. Oh, we're going to the back.
Hi. My question is, have you ever scheduled a reading where no one has come through?
No, but I have scheduled readings where people don't want to hear what I say and get mad at me. But I've never had someone never show up. And if that happened, it would happen to me. Trust me. Yeah.
Hello?
Oh, there we are.
Okay. Do all spirits that cross, do they want to like send messages back to us? Or
Usually they do. Absolutely, positively. They're all pretty chatty. And even if you had somebody kind of stoic and crotchety or kind of nasty, they usually come forward because they're trying to apologize.
Okay, so they're not, they come visit.
Absolutely they do. And if I die tomorrow, I'm haunting Gladys and Laura and my husband and Nikki. I'm hovering over your bed. Yeah.
My question is, do you see spirits like 24/7? Do you have a day break? And my other question is, are there still spirits in this room that remain? If so,
Oh yeah. For every one of you, picture 7 people with you. It's great to be me. And I really think having attention deficit disorder is awesome because I don't get so caught up in it. I can turn it on and off like a light switch. But if I said to you guys right now, can you guys see President George Bush in your mind's eye? Can you see how Barack Obama looks? That's how I see. I don't see with my physical eyes, and if I did, I'd probably have a heart attack. But I can turn it on and off unless I'm really tired. And if I'm tired, or if my husband's stepdad has something to say to me, I always have to answer because he never lets me be off duty. But yes, I can turn it on and off. But they're around all the time because heaven is all around us. And it's kind of like quantum physics. Energy doesn't die, it just changes form. So we're always around.
Behind Chad.
Behind Chad. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. When you were reading the last blonde girl, you said somebody came through in pendulum.
That's not me.
I'm sorry, say that again.
In pendulum form?
Oh no, I'm saying that you can communicate to him in pendulum form because he's got such a strong energy, he'd probably like to communicate.
Oh, okay. We were wondering, we thought you said that they came through in pendulum form.
Oh, and they sometimes can do that too. So if people prior have tried that and it's worked, it's probably
It's
him.
when you hold up the necklace.
Yeah, And you can go to YouTube and watch Pendulum 101 on there. You can find everything on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then also too, you know, last year, there was an old childhood friend that had taken his own life. But, you know, it was August, and then in January, for some reason, I was just wondering if, you know, I thought, God, am I just obsessing about him? But for some reason, I just had, his mom and my mom were best friends. And my mom's in a nursing home, and I called my sister and I said, I just can't get Michael out of my head. I have to take Mom to Rockford. We have to get her out overnight and have her CK. And, you know, she said, I feel that too. It was like 6-7 months later, and I hadn't really thought about him. And then, you know, it really did stop after that. So that you're not crazy. That really is, he could have been.
Yeah, he could have been trying to say that he was sorry for all the pain he caused, and he just wanted his mom to be okay, and he didn't know how else to come through.
Okay.
Because usually when people take their lives, they don't understand what a chain reaction it causes, and they're desperate to give their loved ones peace.
Some comfort. Okay. Yeah, okay, thank you.
You bet. Sure, go right ahead.
Okay. I was very young when my mom passed away. I was a goof around child. She never got to see me grow up and have children or any of her grandchildren. How do I know if she's around and sees my children?
There's no such thing as time on the other side. And a mother's love is something that can never be undone, unbound, or forgotten. So absolutely, she would still watch you grow up. She would watch and know and love all of your children. And the best way to get in touch with her is you can, if you have a picture of her, sometimes when you're quiet in the morning, just hold it in your hands, kind of maybe hold it to your heart, sit in a chair and just rest your eyes, focus on your breathing, say, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out, and do that like 10 times just to relax and say, Mom, I really want to feel you here with me. I need you to give me signs and symbols and let me know that you haven't left me. And every day when you wake up for 2 weeks, say something amazing is going to happen to me today. And keep reminding yourself of that. And she will make contact with you. She will let you know that she's there. And you might want to get a notebook and just jot down date and time that things happen, because you'll notice that you're going to find a pattern that follows through. She absolutely will come to you.
That's my biggest thing, that she didn't get to see my kids.
Oh,
my
absolutely,
grandkids.
she knows, and she absolutely loves you. She's absolutely there with you.
With me?
No doubt.
Okay,
no
thank
doubt. You bet. And one more question?
Straight back, Moriah.
Oh, gotcha. I'll get you next, Glad, and then that'll be the last.
Oh, okay.
Earlier today, when you had someone up there, you were talking about somebody going to come through and show themselves as feathers.
Yep.
I know that to be true because I've had that experience many of times.
Oh, how wonderful.
I know it's not my mom because I see my mom all the time.
Oh, how
she
beautiful.
lets me see her all the time. But my question is, when I see the feathers, I see them in other people's homes. I also clean people's homes.
Sure.
So when I'm in other people's homes, am I seeing their feathers or are they meant for me?
I would suppose since you're open to it and you're in that spirit of cleaning, believe it or not, is a form of meditation. Because when you're washing dishes, vacuuming, cleaning, you're doing a repetitive motion and it is no different than meditating. So those are messages most likely from your spirit guide, guardian angel, to let you know that you're on your path. And whatever you're thinking of that moment, take a mental note of it when you see it and see if there's a pattern, and that's the message for you.
There was a really strong pattern about 4 months ago.
Oh, neat.
It's like every week. I'm like, who are you? What are they trying to tell me? I see them everywhere.
So what you need to do next time you're scrubbing away like there's no tomorrow, ask out loud and then ask silently what your guardian angel's name is or what your spirit guide's name is. Then whatever the first answer you get in your head is, that is the name, and then continue having conversations with them.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, Gladys, you got the last question up here.
Hi. I was just wondering, we're out tonight celebrating my aunt's birthday, and as a family, if my grandfather on my mom's side, if he's here at all, or if there's any sort of message.
Well, what I would do is I would yell at your grandpa and tell him before midnight, he better show you guys that he's here, prove himself to you, and when you guys are taking a family photo later on tonight, tell him to come to you as an orb in the picture or tell him what to do. But I would guess if you boss him around, he'll listen. And I would bet he wouldn't mind at all trying to blow your socks off.
Thank you.
You betcha. All right, well, I cannot say thank you enough from the bottom of my heart. I wish with all of my heart I could talk to each and every one of you because I absolutely love and adore this job. I love doing this. I'm teaching a class June 1st at Stony Creek Hotel in Galena. And I'm working with my friend, Dr. Joyce Serbeck Harris. She's a Native American healer. And we're going to teach people how to get in touch with your intuition, how to hear your loved ones yourself. And if you come to the class, I'm going to make you sit with a complete stranger, because when you get information for them, you can't say, well, I guess I knew that about you. And you'll even surprise yourself. But if I could spend the night with all of you, I absolutely would love to. But thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting me and coming to see me. It means more to me than you know. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful night.